our live studio. So you are all part of our studio audience, but fortunately we still have a chat. So go down here and give me a little shout out. Hey, Tammy, Catherine, great to see you. Find the chat button and tell me where you are. Hey, Hope, great to have you. We are not only live in the studio, we are also live on YouTube, first time ever. So you can make sure you're subscribed and following on YouTube. I'll put that link here in the chat. And we're going to be doing all of our workshops and our interviews and everything live on YouTube at the same time. So that's a great place to join. So, we got Mr. Dominic. Great to see you. Mr. Empar in Poland, Cape Town. I love it. Great to have everybody here. This is going to be a fun session. We're going to dive in deep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one too. So we're going to have a lot of fun. One thing that's cool is I can actually show comments. So I can show, for example, Mr. Hackathon here's comment right here on the live stream. So that's pretty fun. Hey, there's the man, the myth, the legend, Hunter Hodnett. Welcome to the studio.
What up, what up? We live?
We are live. We're live on Riverside. We're live on YouTube. Hopefully, I'm trying to check to make sure YouTube's going.
Glad I didn't come in with a raunchy intro.
Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, so we got comments, we got chats here on Riverside, we got chats over here on YouTube. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, make sure to say hello in the chat. Great to have you. Got a big fan of Hunter. This is pretty amazing. I mean, look what I can do, Hunter. I can really give you some props here from Let's Go.
All right.
Big fan.
Love it. Big fan.
Well, welcome everybody. As you know, if you've been on an event with Chipp, we love to build some momentum virtually, and we do that through what we call an avalanche. That means you type your answer in the chat, but you don't hit send, and we all hit send at the same time. So some of you already got started, but go ahead in the chat. Tell me where you're calling in from and what you're currently drinking, but do not hit chat. So I'm going to type, for example, I'll do Fargo, and then I'm going to do coffee, but don't hit send. Just get ready, type it out, and then we'll go 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and hit send. Let's see where everybody's calling in from. We got people from Greenville, from Roswell, from Montreal, from Warsaw. I love it. NYC, Philly. Tammy's on socials. All right. We got folks in Brazil and Chicago. And I'll go ahead and just pick a random one here. We got someone from Alpharetta drinking LaCroix. So congratulations, Tom. Your comment was featured on the live stream for all the world to see. Great to have you. So if you haven't heard of us before, we are Chipp. We help people build brand native AI. And today we're going to dive deep on one of the tools that we've helped use to build Chipp into a company with just a tiny team. And only Hunter leading CTO, Val helping us as a junior dev, and me as a non-technical person doing stuff on socials. So that's how we've built our team. And it's working because of AI. And so we're really excited to talk through that. So before we jump in, want to give a chance for my colleague to say hello. So welcome, Hunter Hodnett, CTO of Chipp, drinking mate in South Carolina. What are you drinking?
I'm basic, man. I have lemonade. That's all it is.
Lemonade. There you go. So southern.
Yeah.
So southern. I love it. I love it. Well, you survived some cold weather in Greenville, South Carolina, in your building. Tell us what you're excited to chat about today.
Excited to reveal pretty much at least at a high level, our entire process for how we facilitated building everything that we built in Chipp, which is a very large horizontal platform, about 300,000 lines of code, with a team this small. But a metal straw. You got to save the environment, Don. I'm here for the environment. There are some clouds that didn't evaporate because I used that metal straw. So the whole idea is exposing how I use Claude Code, how we use Claude Code, to get just an absolute megaton of leverage on our development process. So I'm going to be showing you Claude.md. I think most people are probably familiar with Claude.md. Even if you're not, though, I'm going to go over at a high level what it is, why you should care about it, what it does. And then I'm going to show you the Claude.md that I am using today for Chipp. So I'm going to be exposing all of that IP. Sorry, Scott. And going through line by line and showing you, it's pretty big. I'm going to show you exactly how I stuff a lot of information into there, how I get more information, how I bust the size. There's a size limit for Claude.md. I get around it. I'm going to show you how I get around it. And then I'm going to show you how I use Claude Code to have it build tools that make it better, right? I have Claude Code build its own MCP servers that it uses to make it better. And I'm going to talk about the feedback loop that I have established for getting Claude Code to build its own tools, and then the 3 layers of feedback loops that I use to get it to operate autonomously. But even when I am in the loop, human in the loop, even in that scenario, have it produce accurate results without just completely trying to gaslight me and hallucinate all over the place. If anybody's ever seen Uncle Bob's testing pyramid, right? All my software nerds out there, right? I'm going to be going over that, like your functional tests, integration tests, unit tests, and how I've built an automated version of that into Claude Code to get it to check its own work. So if it doesn't check its own work, it just hallucinates.
Nice. And I'm going to do the fun stuff. I'm actually the one slinging code over here with Claudebot, also known as OpenClaw.
At your co-founder live
I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you why I bought this. I got sucked in.
Such a poser.
And I'm going to tell you how you can build and run your dashboard with AI. I want to know what everyone here wants to learn, though, as well, all of our people attending. So we're going to do one more avalanche and then jump in. So in the chat, tell us one thing you want to learn. What would make this an awesome session for you today? But do not hit enter. Just type in what you want to learn. So for example, I want to share, let's see. Yeah, I want to learn how CLAUDE.md works for a team. Because Hunter has set a bunch of magic up for me. I don't even know what it is. And I would love to learn more about that. So we'll give you about 10 more seconds to type in your idea in the chat. If you just joined us, welcome. I'm Scott. This is Hunter. We run Chipp.ai. Click the chat button to join the conversation. There's also an option you'll see for live call-ins. So we'll have you come in if you want to ask questions live in a little while. Well, let's go 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and hit us. What do you want to learn? What do I want to learn here? We got lots of ideas. If you're joining us on YouTube, same thing. Put your message in the chat. And we can see what you're doing. Okay, self-hosted version of this flow, great. Setting up AI agents and selling them, open models, Claudebot, love it, Emil, that's me. Who knits his hats? How to get started, honestly, I love that. That's a really good question. I love that. Let's see, great ideas here. Cool stuff we don't know yet, how Claude coordinates. That's really helpful. Sweet. All right, well, we'll go back in here and pull these up as we go, and definitely keep chatting here. We're going to be watching it. Maria is also here from our team watching the chat, so she'll jump in if needed. Really excited to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. Now, I'm going to share my screen here and show you a few kind of setting the table sort of things, and then we can jump right in. So we're going to talk about Claude and Claudebot today. You'll learn what that is. And you've met Hunter and myself. We're co-founders. You can follow Chipp on YouTube at Chipp.ai or on LinkedIn. That's where we do most of our damage. And Chipp.ai is our website. Now, we're going to talk about a lot today, but we're not going to get as deep as some of you might want, which is why we're really excited to share 2 upcoming learning cohorts with you. So we have the technical agents of change and the business agents of change. If you want to join Hunter and I live for about 90 minutes twice a week for a month and really go deep and build your own thing, this is the best way to do it. So technical agents of change will be Hunter. He'll be doing 3 weeks, 3 sessions each week, and you're going to learn about building your own custom MCP servers, setting up setting up CLAUDE.mds, creating software, and you're going to bring an idea that you want to build. So that's going to be really, really fun. And then I'm going to do business of change in March, and this is going to be all about generating leads and sales with AI. So how to find and scrape leads, how to build a 24/7 agent, how to do dashboards, all the stuff you might need if you're, slightly technical, but more on the sales side like I am. So would love for you all to join either of those. We have great prices for individuals, and we really incentivize it for teams. So you can have up to 5 people join with one price. So I'm going to have Maria drop the link in the chat. It is Chipp.ai/the agents of change. You can learn more. And we also have other events that I would highly recommend joining in upcoming weeks. Again, we can have Maria drop the link in here. It's just Chipp.ai/events for everything. But we're going to talk AI HIPAA agents and how to scrape leads. So those will be some really good ones. So let's jump in, start learning. To set the table, I love talking about AI as kind of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? I think most people are using it as a tool. So you just go ask questions, kind of like Google, right? And that's great. We know that only 6% of people are paying for AI. If you're not paying for it, it's really hard to do some of the cool stuff we're going to show you today. So I definitely think about how you could do upgrade from using it as a tool to becoming a teammate. I think Chipp is a great way to use AI as a teammate, where you can build AI agents for other people to use or to sell as products. When we talk about Claude Code today, I think it's going to be a really good way to use as a teammate, where you're co-building, co-developing. I think the top of the hierarchy, I was thinking about Terminator, but I went with trustee to make it a little more positive, is when AI is doing stuff for you automatically, right? So we're going to talk about how you could do that with Claudebot, or what's now called OpenClaw. Just a quick kind of matrix of how I see it, and Hunter's going to share what he sees too. But I think about these 4 tools. We're going to dive in deep to Code, OpenClaw, and Chipp. But does it work on your computer? Like, can it manage files, right? So Claude Cowork, which I'll touch on briefly, can do that, as well as Claude Code and OpenClaw. Chipp is where you use it in the cloud or on your phone. Like, it's not managing your files right now. Does it work on mobile? OpenClaw and Chipp are really good for mobile. Does it run scheduled tasks? OpenClaw is great at that. Do you have to have your own API, or does Chipp, for example, use it? So when you're using Claude Code or Cowork or OpenClaw, you have to have your own API from, for example, Anthropic. With Chipp, you don't need an API, right? So those are a few things that kind of differentiate the different tools. So that kind of hopefully sets the stage of what's possible. Let's see. I want to real quick share. Let's go over to Hunter. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and we'll give Hunter a chance to get set up. He's going to talk about Claude Code. And what I want you to know is, if you're not a coder, you might still want to use Claude Code. I think it's the tool I use the most. And even though I'm not doing a ton of development, it's great for writing files. And you can, if you want easy version, think about Claude Cowork, which is essentially the same thing as Claude Code with a lot of training wheels on. So if it gets too advanced, or you don't feel comfortable in a terminal, which is what Hunter will show you, you can download the Claude app and use Claude Cowork. And I can show that if you need more time, Hunter. Otherwise, if you're good, we'll go over to you.
No, we'll go over. Right, cool. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. So we're going to dive in first to Claude Code, and then we'll go to OpenClaw, which is, I'd say, like a variation on what you're seeing here. So this is a great way to get started. So I'm going to be in the chat watching, and Hunter can take over and show us how we build with Claude Code.
Cool. Yeah, so this should hopefully look familiar to folks. This is just Claude Code. It's a terminal interface. This is, if you notice up in the top left, it'll show you the current working directory. So I have a code folder where I store all of my code repos. And then inside of there, Chipp is structured as a mono repo. I'm going to be very careful on this live stream to make sure I don't leak any sensitive information. So you're going to get just a little slice of the code base. But that is the current working directory that I am inside of in Claude Code. That's very important for things like what Claude.md is being used for this Claude session. So if you're not familiar with Claude.md, essentially what that is it is a gigantic chunk of text that is sent to the Claude model with every single request that you make. So it's like a little template that is sent every time I type something. So I can say, what is the autonomous, did I even spell that right? Autonomous development flow for it.
I think we're on Cursor right now, Hunter.
You're on Cursor. Oh, let me get y'all right on over to some Claude.
And I'll drop links here as we go about how to install this stuff. Feel free to do it alongside us, but we will go fairly quick. So the cohort is where you get a little bit more hand holding, but I'll keep going. And perfect. Cool. One great question here, Hunter, as you get started. You can kind of think about this as we get going, why you use Claude Code over something like Cursor, which you just showed.
So the big thing with Claude Code is you get like something for a max plan is like $200, and it is like crazy amounts of tokens. So Anthropic right now is subsidizing the acquisition of the market, is like the business term. So they're effectively losing a lot of money on the amount of tokens that they provide to you for a max plan. Whereas Cursor, you get a certain amount of tokens every month, but it's pretty small, and then they charge you API prices. So I spend about $200 a month for a single max subscription, and that I never really run out of tokens. I have 3 of those actually. That's why I never run out of tokens. So like $600 a month. But if I get into a pickle, I do switch over to Cursor, and I have like 6 parallel agents if I have like a really bad bug that I can't solve. When I was doing full-time development on Cursor, I was spending anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 per month on my tokens. And then when I switched over to Claude Code, I was spending $200 a month for a subscription, right? Or I have 3 of these now, so $600 a month technically. So you can see the scale of the cost savings by doing that. So that's why Claude Code is my daily driver. So I apologize, wasn't sharing the right screen before, but you can see in the top left here, this is my working directory. This is Claude Code. This is Chipp monorepo. And so I have a CLAUDE.md that I'm going to show you here in a second that's inside this project. But this is the project context for Claude Code. And so I'm going to say, what is the autonomous development flow for Chipp? And I'm going to show you how it like references part of the Claude.md that I have generated for a project here. So you can see it knows exactly what I'm talking about when I said that. It didn't be like, I need to search the web or I need to look here. And it, most importantly, it didn't hallucinate some garbage to me when I asked about that, right? So it says the autonomous flow is we have sentry alert, linear ticket, autonomous investigation, and it goes through the flow here. Don't feel like you need to know everything about this. I am going to deep dive into this entire flow in the cohort, in the course. So you will leave the cohort knowing exactly all of this. But I'm now going to switch back over to Cursor. And this is my Claude.md file that y'all were looking at for just a little bit too long at the beginning of my presentation here. So this is a gigantic chunk of text that is sent along with every single request that I make. This is 925 lines long. And you'll notice in here, if I search autonomous, then you will see exactly where inside my Claude.md, I have referenced the autonomous workflow for having an AI agent complete work autonomously within this project. And when I asked in my Claude Code session, what is the autonomous workflow, it regurgitated this to me in the chat because it had it right there in the Claude.md, right? So this is how you prevent hallucination. This is how you prevent it from this is how you prevent AI agents from confidently making things up to you, right? It's one strategy. You need a few more. Now, I'm going to speed run through this. There's going to be a lot of questions. Whole idea is to get you in the cohort. We're going to answer everything, right? This is just a little taste, but I am going to speed run this. So my gamer folks will know what that means. So that is Claude.md in a nutshell. Again, going to go over that in much more detail.
And let me, can I take over for 1 second for non-technical folks? So Claude.md can live in, like Hunter just showed you. If you're non-technical, you can also put a Claude.md file in other places. So what I do is I actually use Claude Code with Obsidian. So if you're familiar with Obsidian, it's just a note taker. And so I think right now you can see my screen probably with Hunter, but here's like Obsidian, kind of looks like Notion. Exact same thing that Hunter just said, except it's a document. So this is just a MD file, a markdown file, kind of like a Word doc. And I just tell it things, or it has saved things for itself about working. And so how it should talk, it got the voice and tone. I gave it blog posts that it should mimic. I said, never start with things, format, right? Writing techniques. So you can see exactly what Hunter's doing. You can also do for content. So for me, I use Claude Code and have it create things into Obsidian rather than GitHub, because I'm creating blog posts or social media posts or, you know, all of these things over here, HR documents, HIPAA, all of this stuff. So this is also a way that you can create a Claude.md file, which is essentially the brain of what it should talk like. So I'll leave that for now. But this, we'll talk about that a little bit in the business cohort, because for writing, it's really powerful as well without having to get into Cursor. So
cool.
Great question from Mr. Hackathon as well about Chipp. So Chipp is the application on top of the LLM, right? So like whether it's Claude or you know, ChatGPT, you get that in Chipp, and then you use our key, so you don't have to have your own. So you can do a lot of stuff with Chipp on top of it to make things easier. Yeah.
Cool. So really quickly, I'm just highlighting how I actually use Claude Code to improve itself, right? Yeah. So of that Claude.md that I showed you, all of that, I didn't write any of that by hand. I had Claude Code generate all of that. That was not me typing 925 lines of code. Actually, I don't really type any code these days. 100%, I'd say for probably the past year and a half, 100% AI generated code. And so what I'm doing here is I'm illustrating what I do whenever, say I have an interaction in Claude Code that I think is pretty bad. And I'm like, gosh, it hallucinated something, or I stubbed my toe. Rather than going to LinkedIn and being like, oh my gosh, this is all AI, is just a gigantic scam. None of this works. and haha, I proved everyone why this doesn't work. What an optimist would do is be like, okay, how do I get it to not do that, right? So whenever I stub my toe on something, whenever the AI confidently hallucinates something and gives me the wrong answer, I'll actually go into a refinement flow where I have Claude Code refine its own Claude.md. So I just kind of contrived an example here, and I said, hey, this autonomous workflow is kind of unclear. And so I said, let's refine this a little bit. So I said, that's actually incorrect and unclear. Can you help me refine that to be less ambiguous? That's a pretty vague statement, but it was able to run with it. And it refined and said, hey, are you trying to have a clear separation between permission modes and workflow patterns? And it went ahead and did a refinement on the Claude.md. So that's how I get Claude to improve itself. That's one level of it. The other level is actually having it create its own feedback loops. And again, this is something I'm going to dive into deeper in the cohort. But if you are a software person and you follow this guy named Uncle Bob, you'll be very, very familiar with the concept of a automated testing pyramid. Phone call for somebody. Scott, is that you? Yeah, mute yourself, brother. Thank you. So the automated testing pyramid, at the bottom, you have unit tests, and you have a lot of those. In the middle, you have integration tests, and you have a few of those. And then at the very top, you have functional tests. Typically, what that takes the form of is your unit tests are just code. They're just code that you used to write, a programmer used to write and run themselves. Now it's AI generated, and the AI writes it and runs it itself. And then the integration test is something that will probably interact with an external API directly in the test, or it will actually modify the database. It'll have some database interaction. And at the very top, you have the browser. You're actually loading up a browser in something like Playwright or something like that, and actually doing browser automation. Now, and again, I go into this in the cohort, you can give the AI access to the Chrome DevTools MCP and have the AI agent, have Claude Code boot up Chrome with the remote debugging enabled, and have it be able to look at the browser logs, navigate the page, and you can have it do a functional test. And so what I've established here for Chipp is I have the AI generate all of its own unit tests, and I have it run those unit tests. I have it generate all of its own integration tests, and then it runs those integration tests. And then I have it control a browser and actually test the thing that it built in the browser. And what that does is it prevents the hallucination problem. You have an AI confidently say that it's finished something when it's not done, and it's infuriating. The way you fix that are these feedback loops. And so the unit tests are the quickest feedback loops. You want to do those at all. You really want to solve hallucination at that level. But if you have to, you can go to an integration test and actually have it, test the database. And then you want very few end-to-end functional tests because those tend to be a little bit more flaky. Just going to give you a quick view of what an integration test actually looks like. Yep, go ahead, Scott.
While you're pulling that up, a couple questions on like getting it started. So like, why use Claude Code in the terminal versus in the app, the desktop app, which has chat, cowork, and code as 3 different options? Any preference or reason?
You could, I mean, I haven't, to be totally honest, I haven't tried the desktop app. The desktop app is an app, whereas the terminal has, I come from a software engineering background, right? So the terminal is a very familiar place for me. And so I know that Claude Code will have access to all of my tools that I have in the terminal, right? That's really, really powerful to give an AI agent access to, our infrastructure is hosted in GCP, so it has access to the gcloud command. It can look inside our infrastructure. It can access anything I have access to as a programmer on the command line. Claude Code has access to, so that's why I prefer the terminal.
And I'll jump in on that as well. So like, I'll show you quick what this looks like. So I'll drop this link in, but here's the link to get the Claude Code app. This is their documents, and you can go down here and download the app for Mac or Windows. Here's what Claude Code looks like on the desktop, if you're not sure what that question meant. And you can see up here, there's the chat. So this is the same as what you would expect from ChatGPT. You have your conversations. We have Cowork. So this is kind of a simpler version of Claude Code. It allows you to organize files, control things on your computer, but you have to pick a folder to work in. And same thing with Claude Code. you have to pick which folder. On the terminal, you can just say which folder and it'll switch for you, right? So there's a little bit less power here. The thing I do like about Claude Code and Cowork on the desktop is it's a lot easier to upload images. So I do a fair bit with images. I can just click this and upload an image versus having to do it on the terminal. So that's a couple reasons why and why not to use it. So I think whatever you're comfortable with, but this is a great start if you're less technical, I would say. And I'll put that link in. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter. Keep on rolling now. You can take over.
Cool. So one thing that I kind of glossed.
Sorry, guys.
One thing I glossed over pretty quickly, but want to highlight is really, really critical is anytime you're doing using Claude Code in a project, you want to give it, I just made this up, but I realize it's like, I take it for granted. It's foundational to our workflow. It's this scratch folder. You see it's called .scratch because I want it to be hidden. I add it to our git ignore. So all of my AI generated artifacts, I have Claude Code dump into this folder so that I don't commit those and pollute the repo for my teammates, right? So very often for these integration tests, I'll have it write a one-off script and run that script to verify its work is complete. Sometimes I will mature that integration test script into an actual CI workflow, right? I'll actually write a proper integration test that runs every time we check code in. More often than not, I just write one final verification script to have the Claude Code check its own work. And so you'll see here, I have like a ton of junk in here. This is my .scratch folder, and in my Claude.md, I believe I have .scratch. Yeah, it says use .scratch folder for all ephemeral files, and that's enough to get it to do this kind of behavior. But inside of there, I have a bunch of, don't want to leak anything, but I have a bunch of just one-off scripts like my great HubSpot app. So it just wrote like a one-off script to do a migration that I needed to do. And that's typically how I have it test its own work, right? So the most important thing is to get a feedback loop where you have Claude Code test its own work. Otherwise, if you just have it generate random stuff and you just trust it when it says it works and it's done, you're gonna have a really bad time. You see a lot of people have a bad time. They're like, well, it told me it was done. It's like, these things are not human. They're not, you never want to anthropomorphize them, even no matter how good they get. But that is typically when you keep those type feedback loops, that's where you get the magic, right? That's where we're able to run these things pretty autonomously. So for example, I have Sentry MCP plugged into my Claude Code session, and I'm actually able to say things like, so this is a quick demo where like I actually had Claude Code generate its own MCP server. So I said, write an MCP server to help me interact with my local database more easily, because Claude Code was like failing to use the MySQL CLI to like connect to my database and actually look at the data that was in there for integration tests. So I had it write its own MCP server called ChippDB to interact with it, and it facilitates all this stuff. But you can also use external MCP servers. Like the most useful one is how many errors have occurred in Sentry in the past hour. And so it'll pull the Sentry MCP. And what's really, really cool about that is it will actually give you like a rich stack trace, right? So we have Sentry instrumentation throughout our code base. And so it gives runtime data, right? I have all sorts of rich runtime data about what actual data caused a runtime error in production for our application. And so that gives us a situation where we're able to actually launch really, really quickly, because we're able to the AI is able to take a Sentry error. And I don't want it to like leak any information. So I'm gonna just take my word on that. But it'll pull error objects out of Sentry that in the code base, I have like added like what customer it is, what model they're using, what was the data involved in the error. And I'm able to then copy that into my local environment and have the AI agent write unit tests to figure out when it's written code to solve that runtime bug. So we have these feedback loops where we're able to have the AI check its work as it's building. But then even as we launch into production, if an error occurs, which happens a lot with AI generated code, it'll, hallucinate something and the error gets into production. We're able to fix it really, really quickly with Sentry, and it typically will fix Sentry errors autonomously, meaning I can just have it pull these on a schedule and it will post PRs for fixes. And they're most often they're pretty right.
Yeah, and I think just to underline that magic is errors come in, they get fixed, and we can approve them, right? So it's
we just approve them,
this loop and just making it so tight. And for a team of 3 people, it's like we need that, right? We need to be able to have things fixed for us,
right? And so during the cohort, I'm going to run you through at a deep level how you can replicate that setup for yourself. That's one thing that we haven't really. We're trying to build a startup, right? I haven't really raised my head up for air to like teach people about this stuff up until this point. Just because, like, why would I, right? Like, if it's working for us, you just keep doing it. But with this cohort, I am raising my head up and I'm going to teach everyone. Partly because I get accused of just being a hype man on LinkedIn. Nobody believes that we're actually doing this. Like, everybody's like, oh, you're just making stuff up, right? And I'm like, oh my God, it's like so infuriating to have a direct experience where it's like you're seeing this magic happen and then everybody's like, you're just making that up because you're a founder of an AI company. So going to run you through that in the cohort, give you the magic, let you see for yourself. And yeah, one thing I will call out is that Chipp is a web app. And so if you think about all the question and answer data on the internet about like React and Next.js, there's a lot of it, right? So these LLMs just natively, they're very, very easily able to generate like web application code, especially older versions of things. So I think we're like one major version behind on a lot of our technologies simply because the LLM has that version better represented in its training data. I have some friends, we know some people who are working in like embedded systems applications that are having a really rough time simply because my hypothesis is that, a lot of embedded engineers are much less likely to post questions on like Stack Overflow. Those are some hardcore folks that typically like will pop the paper manual open and read that versus go post questions on the internet. So it's not well represented in the training data. So if you have a use case like that, it can be pretty frustrating. But if you're just building a web app, you're building like a web platform, this workflow works amazing.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, Hunter, you want me to take over and go into the crazy land or anything else?
Show us the claw. Let's hit up Red Lobster. Show me the
Let's do it. Well, drop your questions in. I want to first pick up what I was thinking I was showing you, which is everything Hunter just taught you could also be done on the web app. So I put this link in, but you can go to the Claude Code docs, and here you can download the Claude Code web app for Mac or Windows. The nice thing about the Claude Code web app is there's 3 modes. There's the chat mode. So this is like ChatGPT, you'll be very familiar with. The difference when you go into Cowork is now I can control my computer, right? So I can look at a Word doc I have on my desktop. I can ask it to organize my desktop. And it also allows us to very easily do connectors. So I think this is a nice feature compared to the terminal. If you're less technical, it's pretty easy to connect things. So you can connect Gmail, Google Drive, etc. Quite, very user-friendly version. And even Claude Code here is pretty easy to do. The nice thing I like is you can click the photo and grab images. That's nice and easy. You can work in here. I still like Terminal. I think it's a little bit less buggy. I think this is still slightly buggy. But if you're not familiar with working in Terminal, I would go straight to Cowork, start here, and then work your way up. It's just an easy experience and nice to use. But what we want to do is get a little bit more weird and talk about what is known as Claude Code, as Claudebot. And then because of a IP issue with Anthropic, changed to, what was it? Claw Moat. I even forget. It was like for a day, it was like Molt Claw. And everyone was like, that's a horrible name. And so now it's now OpenClaw, which you can imagine is a combination of OpenAI and Claudebot. And it's also open source. So this is how many of us feel who are using OpenClaw right now. I'm going to help you guys join this party with me. So let's first talk a little bit. You can see the slides here, Hunter. Does that look all right?
Looking great.
All right, cool. So when we talk about OpenClaw, we're talking about an application that is using Anthropic, right? So we're using models like Opus 4.5 to take action. There's a few things I want to explain how it works and then show you what it looks like, because it is kind of a little bit of a mindset shift where we're not just using like Claude Code, we're going to talk to it. It's actually going to do stuff for us. So definitely more of that trustee model, maybe Terminator, depending on your mindset. So a couple terms to know. Again, this is the non-technical version, so I'm sure Hunter will get some clarity for me. But one thing we want to know about is a gateway. So gateway is essentially the AI listening, and you can get information into that gateway in lots of ways. I can type it in and ask a question. I could send a text message in. It could come up from another software sending a message, but that gateway has to be open. So one of the reasons that I made the jump and bought this little machine is because I've been running OpenClaw on my laptop, which works great. It's nice and safe. But as soon as I close my laptop, the gateway closes, right? And I can't talk to it. And so part of the value for me is being able to talk to this at any time from my phone. So that's one word we have to think about. One thing that OpenClaw does is it has a technology it calls the heartbeat. And basically what it does is it automatically checks every half hour if there's anything that it has to do. So you can imagine this as like, you're not talking to it, nothing's happening, but you can set tasks and the heartbeat forces it to check if there's something to do. It also does a really good job at keeping memory. So what you'll notice on Claude Code is that after a while, it'll compact all your history. And if you start a new session, anything that's not in that CLAUDE.md file Hunter talked about, like you're gonna have to kind of reteach it. What OpenClaw does is before it compacts everything, it'll actually dump it into a file. And every day you're building a memory file for that day. And so it does a really good job of remembering things. So it feels very personal, I would say. Another term that a lot of technical people will know is a cron job. So OpenClaw does a cron job, which is basically it's a scheduled
the way you
task.
said that just broke my heart a little bit.
Cron job? How should I say it? Cron job.
It's a cron job. But
yeah,
it's just like, it's the bread and butter. I say it every day. And you're like, there's this thing called a cron job.
I know.
Sorry, I said to interject.
I hope, give me a 1 in the chat if you're on my side, if this is like new stuff for you. Give me a 2 in the chat if this is like, you're so bored right now. We're going to get deeper, but for the folks out there like me, I hope this is helpful. This is very
Wait,
new for me.
One is Scott's side, 2 is what?
Yeah. And then I want to talk about hooks, again, something that's fairly straightforward, but this is an internal trigger, right? So OpenClaw can send a hook to itself to take action. It can also create additional agents. So it can run parallel tasks. So it could be looking at my calendar while writing a blog post, while checking sales. And then it can also take messages from other software, like a webhook, right? So we can trigger things in OpenClaw. And a lot of people are asking about privacy and security. And so there's kind of 3 things that I know are really important if you're setting up OpenClaw, which is access. So who can access it? If you're using it on your local machine, it's probably just you, but you can turn this on so people can chat with it. And so you have to be a little careful of like, what are they able to access if they are sending messages in? Another thing we want to think about is when we connect to other software, we have to have a key, like an API key. I think it's a really good practice to have those keys stored in a vault, like a 1Password. So that way, if something gets seen, the key is not visible. And then also having a separate key for your OpenClaw. So that way, if you want to cut access easily, you can just delete those keys. The third thing is we can actually dictate what OpenClaw can and can't do. So it's pretty easy to tell it never delete files, never run scripts that I don't give permission to. Like you can tell it things like that. So that way, if somebody tries to send you a message that has, just like you get an email with a malicious file, you don't want someone to send a message to your OpenClaw asking it to do something that's malicious. So those are some quick security things. We'll go a lot deeper, in the business cohort on this, because I think there's some really big business use cases. But those are some ways that we can get started. I'm going to take a quick peek at the chats and see if there's any questions before I dive in. All right, we got a lot of. All right, there's some ones there. All right, that's good. All right, cool. Well, let me show you first what OpenClaw looks like for me, and then I'll show you how to build your own. So OpenClaw is open source, but I think one thing that makes it really powerful is that you can connect it to other conversation platforms. So this is WhatsApp, and obviously I can use WhatsApp on my phone or my computer. And the reason why I love this is I'm always in the car driving my kids, doing bedtime. the fact that this is connected to other software, I can just send messages, and essentially you get the power of Claude Code from your phone. So I just want to show you some of the things I can do. I can say, what's my day look like tomorrow? And it comes back, it's connected to my Google Calendar. And so it shows me everything. And I can say like, move a meeting, and it'll then do that. I said, tell me our team setup and existing cron files. So like, this is agents that my Claudebot has set up. So it's telling, WhatsApp, we have an email system so that it's be able to send emails. We have a dashboard that's pulling in financial information. And then here's what it's doing every day for me. So at 8 a.m., it creates a digest of all of our signups and our trends. It creates a report on our monthly recurring revenue. It gives me a report on our growth. So how much how we're showing up on Google. It does refreshes on our master keywords and events. Then I said, who's the best leads from signups the past day? So this is going through the past day of people who signed up, and some people it thinks that are high value. And it says, do you want to draft an email? And I can say, yes, draft an email, right? And I have given it what's called service access to my Gmail, so it can send email as me with approval, right? So this is where you got to be a little careful on how you set it up, but I can actually use it to not only draft email, but also send the email. And you can see it's going to do a quick bubble drop here. But this is essentially like Claude Code, but kind of based on my sort of history,
and
I guess.
For everyone's reference, Scott has shipped like some really good PRs from this setup that I've been shocked. So I see the PR and Scott's like, yeah, I did that from my phone in WhatsApp. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like accurate. So it's been pretty shocking to see.
Yeah, it's great. And so you can see here, it says, nice email. And if I want to, I can have it send it from Google for me. So that's connected to my Gmail. So think about OpenClaw as a personal assistant, right? It's going to do a lot of work for me. It's not going to be something that our entire team uses. Claude Code is something where we can create a CLAUDE.md file, and all of us can pipe that in and have like a shared kind of code base or writing base or whatever it might be. I think about Chipp as AI for teams or for customers, right? You're going to build a Chipp and put it on your website or share it with people, and then they can use it with your training. They would not use your OpenClaw because this is a lot more personal information. So that's kind of how I use OpenClaw. And to install it, it's open source, so you got to do a little bit of kind of weird technical things. But I'll put the docs in the chat. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to just copy this, and I would highly recommend opening up Claude Code and doing this, because then Claude Code will tell you what to do, right? So I'm going to just start fresh. So if you're like me and you're not technical, I would hit this magnifying glass and I would type in terminal, and then I would click open. It would look like this out of the gate. And since I have Claude Code installed, I'm just going to do Claude, right? So that's going to open up my Claude workspace, and it's going to trust my folder. Now I'm in Claude Code, what Hunter just showed you. So I can build stuff with Claude Code, but I can also install my OpenClaw. So I would just paste this in, just copy paste that in, and that's going to go through.
Bro, I can't believe you're doing this on live stream. This is painful. You run that in the terminal itself, but you gave it to Claude Code.
Yeah. I just do everything with Claude Code, and then I just walk through these steps, and it's going to just tell me what to do. I half understand what it's asking me, but it'll go through here and set everything up. And I just say like, trust everything that you're doing. And then when I'm running when I want to open that gateway, so remember that word gateway, that's how I talk to OpenClaw. Once I open it up, I don't have to do it again. So when I go into Claude after I've installed it, basically all I say is like run OpenClaw. And then that will open up the gateway for me. It'll do a bunch of stuff. And that'll mean it starts working on WhatsApp, which is my main kind of entry point. And once that's open, as long as I don't shut off my computer, it works. So that's why people are buying Mac Minis, or they're using old computers, or anything you can do where you have a computer that's always on. Because you can imagine, let's see, why didn't that start? Let's see. I think I know, because it's Claudebot on mine.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, because for the heartbeat, I didn't realize why people were doing the Mac Minis. But if you have it always on,
because I've been able to do it upstairs. If I have my MacBook plugged in, it doesn't go to sleep. And I can do stuff from my phone late at night, talking to my kids or whatever. But then, one night my daughter started playing a game and she shut the computer off. So I had to text her and say like, hey, can you open that back up? And can you, turn that on, right? And so we can just listen. I just listen to what Claude Code tells me, and then it helps me kind of get Claudebot set up and starting. So that's how I do it. Obviously not technical at all, but here's like, it would walk you through everything, and it'll do it all for you if you have Claude Code open. So I think about Claudebot as like Claude Code as a personal app. I think about Chipp as an app on top of Claude where you can do stuff for other people. And I think about Claude Code as a way to build for yourself. And as you can imagine, the ability to have timed actions connected to all your software is really powerful. One of the ways we're using this is by bringing this information into Slack. So we work in Slack, and I'll pull up our marketing operations. So this is one thing we would build in our cohort that we'll do is have a scorecard every day that you and your team can get. So here's, our marketing growth, right? Here's the keywords we're targeting. I'm not going after this word, but if anybody wants to rank really quickly for a high volume word, you can go after spicy AI chat, 40,000 people searching it. It'll show you what it built. So it built 17 pages for me yesterday. And then it shows our upcoming events and shows kind of all the jobs it ran, right? So this is a really nice way for me to keep track of all of our marketing events, what we need to create. And you can even talk to it in Slack over WhatsApp if you like that. So that's how I'm kind of using Claudebot, or what's now known as OpenClaw. And what's interesting is it's an open source tool that has lots of people building for it. So I think there's more and more stuff coming. So I'll stop sharing here for a moment and see what questions we have and how embarrassed I made Hunter feel making me watch that.
No, I mean, I just realized we're both in our remote location, so I never see how you use Claude Code, and you never see how I use it. So it's almost like the recommended feed in like TikTok or something like that. It's like a peek into somebody's inner world, like,
oh my god,
this is how you talk to Claude Code.
Yeah, exactly. I think of a couple of things that we didn't show here, but I know that both of us take advantage of Whisperflow, which is an app that essentially makes you be able to talk to your computer. It's kind of like what Siri should be. That works with Claude Code, with Claude app, with OpenClaw. So you can actually just voice ask for things, which is really a nice tool. With WhatsApp and OpenClaw, it can take voice messages and images. So that's also nice. You can send a voice message on WhatsApp and it'll take action for you. And let's see. So thoughts on VPS versus Mac Mini setup for Jace Day said. So you can set up Claude to run. I think my favorite setup probably that I've seen is with Cloudflare. So you don't have to spend a lot. You can run it as a VPS. I like the idea of it being on my own machine. So it really is a little bit more secure. We'll go through the different setups in the cohort, but I think it's getting hardened because so many people are using it, like the security aspects moving very quickly in terms of best practices. But I would start local and then before you go VPS. And let's see, Hope said, how did you learn to use it? Did you just learn as you go? I think this is a great lesson for any AI tool, whether it's the Claude application, Claude Code, OpenClaw, is you can ask it, right? Like, I think the most important thing is get it in, and all of these tools, you're able to ask it, like, how can I use you? What should I connect with? For the security, that's exactly what I did, is like, I saw people send some tweets and I just copied the link to the tweet and put it in and say, look at this tweet about security. What should I do to improve your security? And it gave me some recommendations and I said, do it. And it did it. And I said, what actions should you not be able to do? And it gave me a list of all the things that it shouldn't do. And I said, okay, add that to your memory. Don't do those things, right? So you can really force it to set itself up. Once you get that first string in, and I mean, Hunter's laughing how I did it, but I always start with Claude Code because it has access to my files and it has access to our MD and it can do all these things. And it might even take me in a different direction than I need. Like, I could have started maybe 5 steps down the path, but I feel so much safer being in the hug of Claude Code and being safe. So it's a little different way to think about it. All right. So Hunter, what do you say? We walked through quite a bit there. Any takeaways as you kind of saw how I did it, as you got through Claude Code? Obviously more technical, but I think my takeaway is there's different ways to use these tools, like different interfaces. Underneath, it's kind of the same concept, right? Of a tool that can control files and access other tools. So pick your kind of UI almost.
Yeah, I think that's really the shift that we're seeing. I mean, obviously, everything is changing so fast. So it's a matter of trying to figure out like what is the core truth, like what is the core thing that's going on. And I think you've nailed it. So I think there was also a podcast, Lenny's podcast with Mark Andreessen, where I think he actually mentioned a thing that you just mentioned, where it's like you need to learn from the AI, right? Have the AI explain itself and its capabilities to you. And that's what I did to have Claude Code improve itself for a development flow. And a lot of it is, I know I laughed at you there when you just copied and pasted that thing into Claude Code, and it's pretty funny. But I think the people who are getting the furthest ahead with this technology are the people who are willing to kind of just try something and look a bit silly doing it. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But the people leaping ahead right now are the people willing to try something and willing to talk about it, right? So the whole like social network for AI agents, really silly, very over anthropomorphized, bunch of holes in it, and it's really kind of almost this really kind of silly thing. But there's so much that gets learned through just trying silly stuff and just doing it, right? With the social network stuff, really what that is emerging. I think it's called Moltbook right now. That's like emerging to be like a shared memory store for like solved problems, where AI agents can like post how they solved a given problem in a given domain. And then, oh no, we have Mr. Hackathon up here.
That's right. That's right. No, this is great. You're on a roll. I think, yeah, that's what I do love about cohorts, is learning from one another and sharing. And so that's a great call out, Hope. And we have a special treat for everyone who makes it here to the end for the cohorts. But before that, we're going to take some live call-ins. So we have Mr. Hackathon calling in. How are you doing, Mr. Hackathon, all the way
Dom the Bomb?
from London?
How you doing?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
I don't know what's going on with my camera, but I wanted to. So I'm going through this. Obviously I keep up with all Chip, but just AI in general. But I wanted to try to summarize and kind of, so the philosophy of Chip initially, or at least in the first couple of years or just starting, was that you was making a bet on autonomous agents. You was making a bet on agents, and not just agents itself, but making it easier for people to create agents. That's why you have the interface. That's why you're working with us as partners. That's why we're in schools and everywhere trying to kind of push the idea that this is a better way to communicate and a better way to deliver business services. Now, what's different between what you showed today and almost like what I might call V1 at Chip is, and you kind of have bits and pieces in it before. Now we're moving to a world where these agents can do more acting. So before, maybe an assistant might for a dental practice, and they're just communicating FAQs. But now, and what you showed today, even though it's a little bit technical, is that they're not just communicating FAQs. If they wanted to book for a client, they can now book autonomously. Or I'm not sure what else they want to do. They can book autonomously, or maybe there's a virtual doctor they could speak to, and they can automatically speak to the virtual doctor, and the agent is coordinating all of that. Is that correct in the direction of Chip and kind of like your thinking as a team?
Can I answer that one, Scott?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And I mean, who better to answer it, because like you've been with us from the beginning. But yeah, that's exactly right. I felt like when we were founded, there were like two different directions to go from. It was like, hey, have a chat, do something very practical, which was the chatbot. Like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, was like pretty reliable. And then you had companies like Cognition, which created Devon, and they kind of like raised a bunch of capital and just leapt off into the deep end and said they were going to be autonomous from the beginning, right? Whereas we didn't do that. We were like, hey, let's do something really practical and grounded and grow towards autonomy. And so tool calls have become much more reliable. I think tool calls won out over retrieval augmented generation. So now everything is a tool call, including searching a knowledge base and stuff like that. And that's really what is facilitating this more autonomous flow. And then the larger context windows, this is all stuff that I know I'm preaching to the choir because you know all this, but for the audience, the larger context windows, and then the higher model quality has facilitated more autonomy. And so now we're able to grow from just like the FAQ chatbots, like you mentioned, into autonomy. But our philosophy is, we don't have the capital that a lot of these like Silicon Valley companies have. So we're trying to stay very, very grounded as we grow to the next level.
And sorry, Scott, if I'm kind of jumping the gun here. I'm just trying to piece stuff together, and obviously I see a lot like you guys. I saw on LinkedIn that you kind of hacked together a hardware device, and I love that. As Mr. Hackathon, totally approve of that. But I guess for me, yeah, right there. I guess for me, and again, I'm just trying to understand like the vision of Chipp and where Chipp's going. So originally started off with regular LLM powered agents. Now moving into the era of autonomy and these agents can act. But also I see Scott hacking together hardware solutions. And are we going to see Chipp in the humanoid robots in the future? I customize on the web platform what the personality and the everything is like. And then my humanoid robot in real time just gets an update. And now it's changing its voice. And now it's like Shakespeare. Or am I leaking the playbook?
I love it. I think the two North Stars for us is easy and brand native. So how do we take all these possibilities and allow you as a person to build it on your own site, your own platform with your own brand, your own logo, and it's not, as difficult, right? Like they would definitely, there's a lot of options out here. And I think for Chipp, like we're trying to bring those to the masses, right? So how do we bring something like OpenClaw to everyone? And so that's a little sneak peek probably of what might be coming, right? Is the ability to do some of this without the depth of technical knowledge. And so people like you can take it and resell it, right? Can take what we've built with Chipp and make products or provide it to businesses. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up. So we love having you and thanks for coming, Dominic. It's awesome to have you on. I want to show two things. Do you have any closing thoughts quick, Dom, before we move on? We're good. Okay, cool. So let's see. I'm not sure how to kick you out, but you can just hang here. So I wanted to give everybody a little bit of value, a little surprise. You've heard about us talk about the cohorts. We're really excited about them. And both of us love teaching. And so today only, if you guys decide to purchase one or both cohorts, we have a bundle price for both. You can use the term Claude, and that'll give you 20% off. So that expires at the end of today, and I'll show you what that gets you. That will get you one of these amazing cohorts. So if you go to chipp.ai/the agents of change, you can go to the different cohorts and look at them. Hunter will be leading the technical one. I'll be there as well, but you can see that you can purchase it individually or as a team for up to 5 people, 3 sessions each week for 3 weeks, or you can go the business route and work with me and look at getting leads with AI. And that's $4.99 for 1, $6.99 for up to 5 people. And you're going to walk away with 3 pre-built agents, customer support, sales, and ops, as well as 1 you're going to build yourself. So really excited for those and really excited to have you join that. We also have some other upcoming events definitely want you to think about. So not only the cohort, but we're going to talk, how do you do all of this for private medical clinics? So HIPAA, we have 3 different partners who have built Chipp agents for medical clinics, a dental office, orthodontic office, and a renal surgery clinic. So they're going to talk how they've done it. And then I'm going to lead one on scraping leads. This is a little preview for the business workshop. So you can go to chipp.ai events and see those, and a great way to get started. Plus, Hunter, you and I are hanging out every Tuesday. This week we did this instead, but we talk every Tuesday now live on YouTube, and we share, kind of what we find interesting in the world of AI and how we're building Chipp. So if you want to follow along on how we're trying to build a company with just a few people, you want to definitely subscribe on YouTube. So as we kind of come to the end, I'd love to see final questions here in the chat, and Hunter, kind of last statements for people to walk away from as a way to get started. Like, how do we take this big technical knowledge and put it into first steps for people?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is I'm a big fan of improv. I think what gives you and I like a lot of business chemistry is we're both the yes and kind of people, right? We're willing to try stuff, and if we fail, no big deal. I think that is the best thing you can do going into this stuff. Don't feel like you have to read a bunch of manuals before you start with this stuff. Get started, make a mistake, learn really quickly. It's a whole lot of fun. So my big takeaway would be like, listen, just download this stuff and start having fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question from Catherine. She wants to join the cohort, but is worried about it. You don't have to worry. We will be holding hands. The nice thing about cohorts is we can move at your pace. We also have TAs. So some of our gold partners will be there teaching with us, as well as industry partners, people we admire, are going to be showing how they use AI. So it's not just Hunter and I, it's a team of builders who will give you support and also show how they build with it. So we're really excited for that. And I think mostly we're excited to teach. We kind of had a conversation at the end of the year and we're like, what do we want to do more of? And both Hunter and I love just opening the playbook up, right? So that's why we're going to do more events. We're going to do more workshops, and we want to do learning cohorts because we're both passionate about it. And I think Chipp as a whole, to Dominic's question about what's the vision, it's like, it's always been, how do we get this stuff in the hands of the most people? Like, how do we help people in Fargo and Greenville and Fresno and Montreal, take this and use it for actual work instead of just really cool demos in the Valley. So we're passionate about that, and we're glad you guys are here on the journey. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm just Scott at Chipp, and you can also get started with Chipp for free at chipp.ai. And we would love to have you join us at future events, future workshops, and online with Chipp. Hunter, I'll let you get back to building. We know we got a big prod push to put right now. We're always building, and you guys can go look at my green dots and see how much I'm contributing with my Claudebot now. Scary stuff, but we are so glad to show you how it happens. I'll hang here for just a second if there's any other questions. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for a HIPAA agent event, or in about a week and a half for the cohort. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everybody.
I've been meaning to make a video of Moltbot.
Yeah.
My own bot. I just haven't had time to do it.
I know, it's wild. It's wild. There's a lot of them out there, right? So I'm kind of finding interest in like the use case side, because it's like, it's easy to install, but then what do you actually use it for? So I found a lot of value in the dashboard side, like pulling data from Stripe and email and Google Search Console and putting it all together every day. So I just have something to look at, kind of like an interactive dashboard almost.
I think maybe that's something to double down on in the community, because I think in the Chipp community there's a lot of professionals, which is good. And I think if you go on X, you can get caught up into what younger people are doing, when actually like you said, you want to combine all these data sources and want executive reports. There's people in sales that want that, logistics, in all these different industries, real estate, that want the same thing, Crunchbase was built on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of use cases there. So if you want to chat or make anything, let me know. We'd love to collab on it, obviously. And I got some fun voice stuff for you coming out too, so I'll ping you in Discord. Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for coming. I'll shut this down now and upload it. Might take you just a second, Dominic, if you don't mind. It'll upload the feed from your account, but we'll see you on the next one.
Okay.
Take care.
See you.